looking at the AIOS Handbook at Lesson 27, Parallelism. Now, parallelism is the idea that similar information in a sentence must have the same grammar form. Now, it sounds easy to make grammar match, but it can become very difficult because of all the different grammar forms we have in English. If you look at the example on page 101, we have types, files, and cakes are the three verbs. Now, each one of these verbs is in the third person, singular, present, simple tense, because the subject is Sarah. So, you have an S on every verb. Now, you could change that, like you see in the example below that. Typing, filing, and taking notes are Sarah's strongest skills. Now, because you change these to ing, they become gerunds. Remember that word? Gerunds. Verbs ending in ing, acting as nouns. In that example, they're the subject. So the idea is that X, and X must match. You cannot have X, Y, and Z. It sounds strange to an American. We like the grammar to match. Otherwise it hits our ear or hits our eye in an ugly way. So look at some other examples. At the top of 102, we have what's called failed parallelism. The grammar forms do not match. This project is boring, difficult, and makes me very tired. So you think, oh, I have three adjectives. Boring, difficult, and you have tired, which these are all adjectives. But because you have extra information here, you have the words makes me, it doesn't match anymore. This is a verb, and this is an object. Verb and object. These do not have verbs and objects, so they hit each other and look or sound very different. Americans immediately can catch that they don't match. So how do we fix that? Boring, difficult, and tiring. Alright? Boring, difficult, and tiring. Now they all are smooth together. They all are only one adjective alone. No extra verbs, no extra subjects, no extra adjectives or adverbs. It all is smooth together. So I hope you tried sentences 1 to 10 and solved the parallelism. It's like a puzzle. You have to find the grammar, find whether they're gerunds or whether they are adjectives like here, and you have to make them all match. Some people think it's fun, almost like a game. Other people find it very difficult and irritating. I hope that you find it to be fun and that you're interested in making the grammar forms match. Now, if you don't know much about grammar, if you don't know a gerund or an adjective or infinitive or what an object is, I recommend you study these words. Study the basic ideas of English grammar so you can make sentences that have parallelism. If you don't know about grammar, this is extremely difficult. So let's continue to take a look on the bottom of page 103. Here we have the word reading. And later in the sentence, we have to write. Now this is a gerund, this word here, and this is an infinitive. Both kinds of verbals that we looked at in a previous lesson. Now, to you they're both verbals, and so maybe you think they match, but they don't. They have to be the same verbal, either both gerunds or both infinitives. You have to have matching forms. Now, many people have asked me, how do I know which parts of the sentence need to match? That's a good question. If you have a series like this, X, X, and X, you almost always need parallelism. Particularly if, say, after a colon. We'll look at colons later. You have a colon and a series, they need to be the same. Also, like with this example, reading and to write, if you have ideas that may be far away in the sentence, connect to each other. Either because they're verbals, because they're subjects, because they're objects, they need to be expressed the same. So for instance, if I make a new sentence, Bob likes skiing and to swim. We have a nice statement here. Bob likes skiing. Two I's here. Skiing. Bob likes skiing and to swim. Well, this is failed parallelism. One of these is a gerund, and the other is an infinitive. We have the same problem here. We have two objects that should be in the same form, but are not. So, hopefully you're beginning to understand how parallelism works. Same ideas in a sentence, objects, verbs, series, more than one, 1, 2, 3. They need to be in the same grammar form. Page 104 gives you more information about this idea. About using prepositions, making sure that you have prepositions that match each other. For example, where it says Paul got his information reading books and by talking to people. Well, we have two verbs ending in ing, so that's good, reading and talking. But the second verb, talking, has the preposition by in front of it. Well, this isn't terrible, but it hits the ear or the eye of a native speaker. It doesn't match smoothly. It's not perfect. So you can either add a word by in front of reading, or you can cut by in front of talking. The choice is yours. That's why some people find parallelism a lot of fun, because there aren't really any perfect answers. You can change them to whatever you want. For instance, this one, Bob likes skiing and to swim. You can either change this to skiing, Bob likes to ski and to swim, or you can change this to swimming, Bob likes skiing and swimming. They're both very correct, and one is not better than the other. It's your choice. So do you keep the preposition by, or do you cut it? You can decide. Also, you have other examples. Mrs. Gray is a boss whom employees respect, but is a little frightening. So here we have a problem where you think about, where does the parallelism begin? And again, it's kind of a game. Does the parallelism begin with who and whom, or does it begin at the end with the adjectives respect and frightening? So if you read about that in the book, it'll become clear, and it's up to you. If you think that the parallelism begins with whom, then you just add who later on in the sentence. Whom, and then you add who, and then you have parallelism. If you want the adjectives to match, then you need to either change respect or frightening. In the book, I changed frightening to fear. I make frightening into the noun fear. Again, it's your choice, as long as the grammar forms match. So please try the examples on 105. Look at the answers in the back of the book. Because there are many possibilities, the answers in the back of the book can change. They're not always right or always wrong. If you have questions about your answer for any of them in the book, feel free to send an email or write on social media about your answer, and we'll be happy to check it for you. 106 continues to give you more examples of when to use parallelism. You need to use it with expressions like than, rather than, not only but, and these are just a few examples. There's many other times you must use parallelism. The more you read English and listen to it, the more you'll begin to see when parallelism is necessary. So I hope you found this lesson very interesting. Please do the questions on 107 as well. There's a lot to learn about parallelism, but the best way to learn is through examples. Just read English more often, and you'll see where parallelism happens. This is a grammar idea that's easier to learn through experience, not through the textbook. I just wanted to show you the ideas and show you some examples so you're familiar with it. But I really want you to go out and learn from other resources. Listen to more people speaking English. Read more books that use English, and you'll see parallelism a lot more often. It's kind of like learning verb tenses. You can learn all the rules, but verb tenses, there's often not one right answer, and people use them in very different ways. The best way to learn is by listening and seeing, not necessarily by studying all the rules. So this has been Parallelism. I hope you enjoy, and please send any questions you might have.